Hello, welcome back to Tom's Comedy Club. Ooh, we're back. And today we're back with another One Comedian, Eight Questions. And as the time of 103, the moment this is being filmed, which won't be the moment it's being uploaded, you will currently see another episode of One Comedian, Eight Questions. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know. It's on like 62 or something because I interviewed someone else. So we're on a roll is one of the idea that the fringe will be packed with people. My job of floating the fringe will be saved and will be granted. So you'll see that then there'll be more of nonsense from me because you'll never get rid of me. I'm always there. I'll be in your night. You'll fall asleep and you'll hear me. I'll be in your nightmares, viewers. I'll be in your nightmares. Don't cry though, because then it makes me look even more evil. Anyway, so we'll crack on. Today, we have a wonderful guest. She's best known for being a wonderful, amazing comedian. It's one and only Rhiannon!
Hi everyone.
And so we shall spin the wheel of mystery, because on it there's three question marks. So let's spin it to see what our first question is. There we go. So this is a memory test. This is a test of whether or not you remember the facts. But what was that first joke you ever uttered out your mouth?
Uh, out of my mouth, like just in general. Okay, I remember when I was about 4 or 5. I don't remember exactly what the joke was, but I tried to. I'd heard about jokes, and I wanted to try a joke. So it was something along the lines of, "What does a hippopotamus say?" Hippo, because I understood that a joke was like that cadence, but I didn't understand that it had to have meaning and it had to be funny. I just remember distinctly my mum being like, "That's not a joke." So that's probably my first ever joke. I my harshest critic to this day is my mum. Yeah.
Does your mum come to your gigs to watch you do performing, or does she just stay at home and just silently tut?
She comes to gigs. She's seen my new show Wedding Night. She really liked it, partly because there's a character who's based on her in it called Elsie McClutchy, who I've been doing for years now. I think my mum like secretly wants to be a performer, and like she really sort of feels like she can live vicariously through my comedy. So she loves coming to see my shows. She loves it.
And because parents are always supportive, no matter what nonsense you get yourself into. I once filmed a sketch that my mum had to clarify that the elephant that was using was wrong, where I had an elephant, which you can see I couldn't be bothered removing. I had a toy elephant, and the joke was that the elephant, you never talk about the elephant in the room. So I'd pop up instead,
Mm.
I disappeared, and the elephant would be quite sad. So it took me like 15 goes because I got the wrong elephant, because apparently an elephant has a tusk. So I didn't know that. Well, I did. Well, I didn't know that actually. I'll be truthful honest. I didn't know that. So I filmed it several different times until I realised I had the wrong elephant to begin with.
Oh,
Yeah,
the wrong elephant in the room.
yeah. It was 58. It took me like nearly like 20 minutes for a 58-second video.
No, God, tell me about it. It takes ages, doesn't it? Just to film just a short clip. So annoying. But you got it done in the end.
Yeah, I got it done, and two people saw it.
Hey.
That was at least something. Um, that is definitely something. And so we move on to question number two. Let's find out what it is. I need to make a jingle because then I don't have to sing. So this is a question that I've asked so many people, just generally, and it's because no one ever knows the correct answer. So when was the first time you yourself called yourself a comedian? So what I mean by that is that you had said to yourself, "Oh, I'm a comedian," and you said to someone else, "Oh yes, I'm a comedian."
Oh God. You know what? It was probably like shortly after I left university, because I kind of like my very last year of uni, I did the Chortle Student Comedy Awards. And it was probably sometime in that summer when I was up at the Fringe and was doing the awards, and I just sort of like was finally being sort of introduced to cool people, and I thought, oh no, I am a comedian because I'm in the student Steve Bennett has decided I'm a comedian, so I introduced myself as a comedian. But like at first I used to sort of couch it as like, oh, I'm a comedy writer and a comedian, because being a comedy writer feels like it's an easier thing to sell than going like, I'm a comedian. Yeah, so that was probably sometime in 2018 was the first time, very precocious, just after I'd left uni.
I know what point in a comedy career would you say that you become a comedian? Which part? Because there's a it start you started in a different place, but whereabouts would you say you are a comedian?
Oh God, I think it's entirely up to you. I don't think that you should like maybe there are people who say, oh, you have to have done 100 gigs or something, but I think it's when you feel that it's part of your identity. I mean, if you've done one gig a year, maybe not, but like if it's something that you do on a regular basis and you're making people laugh, and if you're doing regular gigs, then you probably are, there's a chance you're making people laugh, then describe yourself as a comedian. Why not? There's definitely people out there who, while you're questioning it, will have done like one gig and have decided that they're like God's gift. So just whenever you want.
Well, my favorite bit is when I googled it once because I had nothing better to do. It turns out I googled it, and it's the greatest definition possible. It says someone that's created something funny or has done an online video. So it never says people have to laugh. So basically, anyone that makes an online sketch that's actually the worst thing you've ever seen could then call themselves a comedian. So I always think. Whenever I say to somebody, I always say, according to Google, I'm a comedian. So I don't take it at face value because who knows? But I just find it hilarious that Google's definition is completely different to everyone else's definition.
Yeah, I mean, fine, yeah, sure. If you make an online sketch and you think, yeah, I'm a comedian now, yeah, fine, sure.
There's lots out there. Not all of them are funny. I can't name one because I haven't seen a bad one just yet. But there's still time. Still time.
Oh, there are some out there. Some on my TikTok.
Oh, that doesn't. Yeah, no, they're probably terrible on TikTok. So now we're on to question number 3. This is where it becomes tricky because then I lose all sense of what maths is. Yeah, so when you go to comedy nights, there's always a selection of people or what they call a bill. Even though you're not paying any money at the end of it, you haven't got a sheet of a bill. But there's no one called Bill in the lineup anyway, so that's really weird. But which comedian? Now all the comedians that are in the world. So this isn't just the UK. Around the world, every comedian possible, even little Jimmy the baby. Which comedians would you love to be on the bill with?
Oh, I'm just a massive Acaster fan. Just a huge. I would love to be on a bill with him someday. Um, yeah, I love him. I feel like that's kind of a realistic goal. There are lots of American comedians who I love, but yeah, definitely him someday.
Well, hopefully, if they reboot the bill, you can be on it with James Acaster. Yeah, that's another pun there for anyone that remembers the bill. That's showing age. Do you reckon? It's a side question, this, but do you reckon James Acaster owns the podcast platform Acast?
You know what? For a long time, I thought that he must do, and I thought like that's a nice little earner for him because there's all sorts of podcasts on there, not even just comedy ones. But I've sadly, I don't think he does. I don't. I think he owns Off Menu, and that's probably the only one that the only podcast that is really like his. Yeah, sadly, it would be a nice little earner though, wouldn't it?
But he benefits from off venue good enough because
Oh yeah.
yeah, because they're going on tour and they've got everyone on it that could be apart from me and you.
Someday.
Someday, when they run out of ideas, when they run out of people, and they've got
Yeah.
a list of everyone and they thought, oh, we're gonna have to go for them too.
Do you have like do you have like your dream meal sort of in mind already?
Um, I, well, I mean, you could. I think Kiev's are there, chicken Kiev's,
Yeah.
or a concoction that I never know if it's made up or not. It's something called chicken and batter and chips, right? What it is chicken. It's very self-explanatory. This it's batter,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
chips, and that's it. So you get so you have two bowls in front of you, and you just
Uh-huh.
play it, and you just pick at it. So you get all the chicken in the batter and your chips, and you eat it.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds sounds nice. Yeah.
It is because the batter is made out of actual batter, not proper chicken. It's it's
Yeah.
it's hard to explain, but it's self-explanatory all at the same time because it depends on what you put in the batter to make sure it's soft and not make it hard rather than floppy. That's a terrible description of it. But then for pudding, I would have Swiss rolls.
Oh, yeah. What kind of Swiss roll though? Like a chocolate one or a
Definitely chocolate ones.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, agreed. Just like a giant mini roll.
Yeah, just all for me, just on a plate. It has to dangle off the edge of the plate.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
You
Yeah.
just at it. Just be ginormous. Have you got a dream meal menu?
Yeah, and sad and like the saddest thing is I've even thought like the places that like the restaurants. There's a restaurant in Paris where that means a lot to me and my fiance because we went there on our first like trip to Paris together, and then when we got engaged it was where we went for our like celebratory dinner. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'd probably have this kind of tuna bacon that we have there. That sort of like I've already got it in mind. It's so sad.
So what is tuna bacon? Is that just tuna and bacon together?
No, it was it even tuna bacon? Or it was like so it was it probably wasn't even bacon. It was probably like a cured meat,
Yeah,
like a cured meat like but tuna. So cured tuna and like I love like fish and
yeah.
seafood. I know it's so bad for the environment, but it's just my absolute favorite. And it was like yeah, just like treated with lots of spices and herbs, a bit like a I don't know, like pepperoni or chorizo, just like yeah, but tuna.
And I also like to seafood.
Yeah, on the seafood diet.
Yes, salmon's quite nice. I eat salmon quite often. Not like your really posh salmon that's like you can still see the fish. It's just yeah, Tesco salmon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
how'd you have it? Just like
in a wrap or in bread.
oh yeah, a bit of smoked salmon.
Yeah, and then you just shove it in your mouth and eat it.
That is how you eat.
Is that what you eat? Unless you put it in your ear and then that's not really eating that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so we move on to question number three, I think.
No,
Four.
four.
Four. I think that's what happens to me. I'm not very great at maths.
That's all
I chose a series that needed maths, and then I never remember in the end.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm here.
Right, question number four. Let's see what it could be. So this is a question that you ask people, they give you an answer, and you just ignore them, and then you ask someone else, they give you a different answer, and you ignore them, and you never know. By that point, you've asked for so many different people, you just give up on it in the end. But this advice will be the best advice. What advice would you give someone who wants to begin stand up from a scratch or from the first time?
That's nice. So whatever I say, you're gonna ignore it. Is
No, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to
you
ignore it.
this one? Okay.
This one's going to be the one that counts.
Um, think about what makes you laugh first and foremost. Like, I mean, I think it'd be very easy, like when you go along to your first open mic or when you see other comedians that you're like, oh, I'm gonna be just like them, or like they're making people laugh, so I'm just gonna copy their every sort of joke style. But think about what makes you laugh, because that is like the sooner that you begin to think about your voice as a comedian, the better, I think. Like the sooner that you're like, okay, um, this is what makes me laugh, and then I'm gonna find my crowd. I'm gonna find the best version of my voice. So yeah, also have fun. Also have fun. If you're getting up there and you're not having fun, then don't do it.
The one bit of advice I'll give is don't go on stage, stand by the mic and start crying.
Oh yeah, yeah, probably, unless it's like a character
Yeah,
piece, unless it's like you're
it's nuance.
I might try it. I might try it. I'm gonna give it a go.
You just stand leaning against it, and then you say hello, and then you just burst out in tears, and then you walk off stage. That would just be it. That would be like that would be either genius or
Yeah.
just not funny at all. It'll go one or two ways.
Yeah, I think it would very much depend on the gig you were doing. I think there are some alternative nights where that would go down a storm.
Yeah. Oh, that would just would be hilarious. So yeah, that is very good advice. And everyone that's watching this, take that on board. Ignore everyone else. I know I've introduced so many comedians, but ignore them all. This one's worth it. I'm not
Oh,
saying the others are terrible. I'm
yeah.
saying they're all really good, but this one's worth it. Yes, I know. Ignore Richard Herring. Yes, that's
Oh
one.
yeah, always ignore Richard Herring.
Ignore him. Ignore him. How someone doesn't even do stand up anymore? Ignore him. Take one on board. It's been a couple of years. Take this on board.
Yeah.
We've improved. I've grown. Literally. I don't think that all the time anymore. So literally, it's all changed. No, ignore the past. Trust the future. And
Yeah,
so we move on to question I think number 5. I think.
that's
Yeah,
right.
number 5.
Um,
I got so sidetracked. And another repeat question. Then we move. This is why the wheel's amazing, because we never know what's going to happen.
still a chance.
So this happens to a lot of comedians, and Jimmy Carr, to death on YouTube, has done the same compilation of him arguing with these people. The same compilation. You watch it over and over again, but he's uploaded like 20 million times. And then you watch Mark Simmons, I think that's his last name, or I'm thinking of someone else, who always has a good comeback. But how do you personally handle the good old hecklers?
Um, you know what? I tend to just sort of like try and take them at face value because they're never sort of expecting that. So like if for example, I was doing a gig and I was talking about getting married, and then someone sort of shouted out like, "Oh, where is he tonight then?" or something along those lines. And if you honestly sort of answer them, you're just like, "Oh, he's at home." And you don't rise to it and you're not like, "Oh, stop shouting at me," then it can honestly, it takes the power away from them. I know it's harder to respond to a question, but like honestly, I think not rising to it and just sort of trying to have a conversation with them sort of takes the power away a lot of the time, because you're not getting emotional and you're not kind of like you're not giving them the satisfaction of having upset you. I'm a bit, I feel like I get a bit teachery sometimes when the audience aren't behaving. I'm like, come on, we're here to laugh. Can we all just behave ourselves and like we'll all have a better experience?
Oh, that's brilliant. I don't think I know a comic character, someone ever go on stage and be a teacher. Because that would just be a really good comic character when the strict teacher.
Come on now, come on. Yeah. I think I could come.
Yeah, and you could just do a whole night where you just take everyone to detention and go and make them all sit in the corner, and you make one of those little D hats and make them the naughty audience member sit in the corner with it on the red.
I'd love it. I'd love it. That's a really fun idea. I might do a sort of Victorian teacher. Um, did you ever, when I was at school, when I think we were about year 5, when we were doing the Victorians, we went to a Victorian schoolroom. And like it was the most terrifying moment of my life. I'm still suffering PTSD.
Well, when I was in year 3, my brother, who's a little bit older than me, cause I don't know why we never did it, but I think it's because the teachers weren't around. He had did a whole Victorian day where the
Yeah.
artists dress up as Victorian. They were in the same classroom, and every time the child was in trouble, they would the teacher would take them outside, get some pen that looked like blood, make a whacking noise, just
Yeah.
telling them to scream, so you would hear them down the corridor, and then just draw the marker where they would have been whacked, and then just let them go back to the classroom.
Yeah.
It was immersive. Then for us, we went to see a mill. It was because near where I live, there's a lot of mills
Yeah.
still knocking about, which is rather weird. Because you walk in and you think these children are going to hop in that and hurt themselves, but luckily they're all well behaved.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up near the Black Country Living Museum. So like we would often go on like school trips or family days out to see all the sort of the coal mining stuff. And once we went down into a mine, and I'm thinking like that's not that doesn't feel particularly safe. But you know, that's it was our past, you know. We should learn about it.
When I we have a park near us that has an old house that you can book tours into, and we had booked this tour in the school. We went in, and the tour guide nipped to the loo. He said I'm off to the loo, and what he'd done is he ran off, got dressed into an old Tudor costume, walked in as a Tudor character, had a conversation with us, and then pretended that he was being chased by a couple of guards. So then he would run off. You would hear him. You would hear the whole commotion happen, which is basically him screaming and getting undressed and come back. And then every time you ask him about it, he would deny it. You would be eating your lunch, and you would have a crowd of people going, "That was you. That was you. That was you." And I don't know what
No.
you're about. I've never seen this before in my life. I
Uh,
don't.
as a character comedian, I really admire that. That's very
Yeah.
very good.
It's very hard to do character comedy because I have a character called Albert Flowerpot that's supposed to be my Alan Partridge. And what I mean by that is that Alan is in multiple different projects in different mediums,
Yes.
not just in one thing, you know. And that's what Albert Flowerpot is for me. So I just have a character that can do anything he likes. He's not like stuck in a sitcom.
Mm.
He can also be on a radio show and have friends that get trapped in toilets. But how did you come to the conclusion that character comedy was your safe haven?
I was too scared to be myself on stage. I think that's the main sort of underlying. Like I think when I got to university, I never felt like stand up was going to be my natural thing anyway. And like I did a bit of sketch, but also I'm quite like an independent person. Like I'm a bit of a loner, so I quite like to be able to just sit down and like I'm going to come up with a character, and then I'm going to get up on stage and make people laugh, and I don't have to book rehearsal rooms, and I don't have to sort of compromise with other people. I love working with other people. I'm about to ruin my career by being like people. No, but like it just felt like something I could do off my own steam. I didn't need to sort of depend on other people, and I could just come up with a silly character and get up on stage and do it. And I'm good at accents. That's a very important,
Yeah, that's a key skill.
yeah. But it's something that I've always been able to like do sort of not quite impressions of people, but like pick up on their accents very quickly. So yeah.
My issue is I couldn't ever do the same voice. So I do one voice for a character and then I can never remember it again. I only recently found how to do it. I don't know how, but I've worked it out. But I had these characters. I had this one character, but he never had the same voice. So I did a whole first series of a sitcom and the second series. My say to that never had the same voice. He was the same character, but he kept complaining that he had a voice issue. He had a day on this where he couldn't get the right voice, and so then when I did it on my college radio station, I had to then my mum said to me, right, you need to write this out. So I wrote a sitcom where the characters got stuck in different places and he couldn't make it, so that I could create new characters on the spot while I was there, so that so then they would like call so it'd be like here's a song that you should only play at a funeral, which is Abide With Me, not a great song to play on the college radio at 7 p.m. And then
Yeah.
and then in parts that was then a sitcom where they were like, "Oh, we're off to to Tom's show today," and then they
Uh-huh.
go to a Chinese a restaurant and go into a toilet that accidentally had soundproofing walls and got trapped in the toilets and then couldn't go anywhere else.
And then you had to do a new character.
And then I would then create a new character by opening the door, then slamming the door, and then sitting there and just doing a voice and then talking to myself. Whilst the person that owned the radio station was just staring at his phone, he couldn't care less what I was doing. He just let me go on with it.
That's what you need. You need a platform where no one cares what you're doing, and then you get to be an artist.
That's why YouTube's a good place, because
Exactly.
whatever you like. So we move on to question number 6.
Yeah.
Number 6. So this is by this point in the interview, probably a self-explanatory question, because we probably already covered it, but use different words in different orders as the joke goes. Well, it's not exactly as a joke, I just changed it to make it less funny. Because that's how you do it. So has comedy, right? The comedy as a whole, not just one area of comedy, has comedy in itself changed your life for the better or for the worse?
Definitely for the better. Definitely for the better. I've met so many wonderful, interesting people, and just like who have had a really sort of like positive impact on my life. I mean, I met my fiance actually when we were at university, and I directed a comedy play that he wrote. And I wouldn't have ever gone for directing that show, or wouldn't have ever done that if I hadn't have like had an interest and a love of comedy from a young age. So comedy has changed my life in a very direct sort of positive way, in that I've met my my partner for life, but it's also meant that like I've done lots of interesting things and met lots of interesting people. Yeah, the only negative is that like sometimes traveling to gigs is annoying, but you know what, I get to get up on stage and make people laugh, so it's fun.
Making people laugh is like it's a national service. Some people, I've heard it said somewhere that it should be on the 999. If you need help, you can just 999, and one of them's just comedy. It just be someone the other end playing videos of just comedy just through the phone.
Not even sending you a YouTube link, just like you can listen to it.
Because then someone gets paid on the other end, and then we employ more people. It saves computer taking over. You have to have an actual person. It's like the talking clock, like speaking clock, not talking clock. Shouldn't talk, she speaks. It's like the speaking clock. They're no longer human.
No, what a shame. What a shame. You used to be able to call someone up and say, "What time is it?" And they'd say, "Oh, let me just check, love."
And there was also the art of I think it's called a call girl. I'm hedging my bets on the historical fact. The art that's gone. They were the women that picked up the phone and went, "Who do you want to call?" And they go, "I want to call this person on this number." And they go,
Oh, the operator.
"Yeah, hang on a second." And then they were called call girls at one point, and then yeah, and then
Cool girl
people
became a cool girl.
yeah, and then people thought that's a little bit on the nose.
Yeah.
Because when you saw all the video, they're all wearing like fancy dresses that you would wear to a dance club or whatever they were called, and so they're all really posh and wearing gloves, answering the phone. It's like they're like picking up China tea sets. But you watch them then just move it and go, all right, hang on a second, bear with. Oh, there you go, you're through now. Goodbye.
Yeah. See ya.
Now you just pick up someone and wait for them to answer, or else you've got the answer machine. And so we move on to question number, I'm going to say 7.
7, yeah.
7, woo, 7. Yeah, and the wheel's on fire, which is an effect of the act, just to clarify.
Oh, okay, all right. You're not in danger. All right.
No. So comedy has been around since time itself. The cavemen were probably drawing crude images.
Yeah, they were.
And making another camera. That's the impression of a grunt. And so, and then the invention of TV turned up, and people put comedy to the screen. So, as a child yourself, as a small person, you can judge where children begin and children end, where they remember stuff. But what TV program, this could be multiple or singular, inspired you to get into the comedy industry?
I'm gonna say 2. They're both cartoons. I grew up watching The Simpsons, just like obsessively. And I still am very much into The Simpsons, and I'm just obsessed. I follow all the writers on Twitter. I love like rewatching old episodes and like appreciating the jokes for just how sort of skilled they are. And also the character work on The Simpsons is just incredible. Like they come up with these minor characters, and then they sort of grow them into their own worlds within the world of The Simpsons. And yeah, I love it. There are so many episodes that I think like just the perfect episode of television. And there's so much that you can do with cartoons that you can't do with live action. My dream is to someday write for a cartoon. Obviously, if I could draw, then I would do it myself, but I can't draw. So The Simpsons is one. And the other one is SpongeBob.
Oh,
Big Yeah, I grew up in the sort of the heyday of SpongeBob. And it's this really fun sort of surrealist humor that I love. That's also sort of it has sort of stuff for adults. For example, like Squidward as a whole character, I relate to so much more as an adult. But like it's such like a skilled and funny and again characterful show. I just love it. I got one of the streaming services, I think Paramount Plus. I got it so I could watch Yellow Jackets, and it had all of SpongeBob on it, and I just rewatched all of SpongeBob, and yeah, perfect show. So yeah, Simpsons and SpongeBob, I'd say as a child showed me the way.
well, for The Simpsons, I recommend. I don't know if it's still on the iPlayer, but there was this program on about TV theme tunes. And this one bloke, I think he's a composer, and he would speak to people that wrote these theme tunes, so like the people from Bagpuss, the people at Sega Economic that currently did the latest Doctor Who theme tune, but he also interviewed Matt Groening about the Simpsons theme tune. And so he had a whole conversation about, but apparently Matt Groening's more, his inspiration is British comedy and British, it's just everything Britain, and that's what inspired him to make The Simpsons. That's what The Simpsons is all inspired from. He's a Brit at heart.
I think there's probably something in that because yeah, I've never really thought about that. That's very interesting.
And then on YouTube there is a panel show which is sort of a quiz show about The Simpsons. It was around the time that it's went towards the beginning of it, and everyone was hooked onto it when it was on Channel 4. So Nick Frost is one of the team captains, and it's a Simpsons based panel show.
What?
I say one episode because it was a special to celebrate. I think it was celebrate like the anniversary, something like 10 years. And it was very early on, but it's on YouTube, and it's a whole panel show based around The Simpsons. And each question is Simpsons based, and the teams are obsessed with The Simpsons.
Oh, I'd love like if there was a Simpsons quiz. I know they do like themed sitcom quizzes, but if there was one that was just like the first 10 series of The Simpsons, I think I would nail that. I think I'd do really well.
Yeah. And if you were in The Simpsons,
yeah,
what character would you want to play? That you could play an existing character or an imaginary character you've just made up.
Oh my gosh. Ooh. You know what? I'm a big fan of Mole Man. So I would like to play, Hans Mole Man, the little guy with the glasses, and oh no, and he's always in trouble. I would like to play his long lost daughter. I think we have a lot in common. We're both sort of failures, and we're both kind of like small and look like moles. So I'd like to play his long lost daughter. I'm sure that like now there is already an episode where he has like a long lost family, but I would love to be that. That's what I'll be. What rhymes with Hans? Franz, Anne's Mole Man.
And so when you were watching SpongeBob, before we move on, this is the most nerdiest question I'm ever going to ask. When you're watching SpongeBob, were you watching it on CITV or on Nickelodeon?
Oh, Nickelodeon. I grew up with Sky, unfortunately.
Well, it was on CITV for a very small while because it was part of the Toonami or whatever it was called.
Oh,
When there was only two people that were in that house and they had a spin. It made no sense because it wasn't like the broom cupboard or anything like series. It was just a random hour where these two people would faff around in a house and then say, "Oh, here's SpongeBob," and then you just watch. I don't remember them watching anything else, but they would just watch SpongeBob on a loop.
I think this is part of what has made my sort of humor quite American influenced
Yeah,
is that I grew up with Sky and I grew up watching Nickelodeon and Disney. Whereas like if you I never really watched sort of like CITV or CBBC. So it's very much influenced my humor, I think.
yeah. I think that's sort of a good thing because um, if anyone was inspired to do comedy from the program that were on when I was slightly young, there'd be slight concern. There was Roy about the first Welsh woman to give birth to a cartoon boy.
Okay.
You explain it to people now, and you get looks at you thinking you were right, but they made a whole program, and then they made a prequel series called Little Roy, where it's about them all younger. So it's the antics of Roy, who is not Welsh. No, I can't remember. I think Belfast is in Ireland, not Northern Ireland. I'll come to that conclusion.
Belfast is Northern Ireland.
Yes, so it was a Northern Ireland-based sitcom that
Oh,
that starred an all-Irish cast. Most of them were from Ireland, not Northern Ireland.
okay.
Got it the antics of Roy, the cartoon boy. Uh,
Yeah.
so, for instance, if he got knocked out, you would see birds. When he's in love, he would float off.
Oh, I see.
And they were drawing on his arm as sort of the teacher, a caricature of the teacher. So he had a whole episode where he had an angry small man on his arm.
I'm gonna have to look this up because yeah, it's definitely after my time.
Yeah, it was about like 2010 to 2010.
Yeah, I was a fully grown adult. No, I was 15. But yeah, I missed it.
It was, and then they had Me and My Monsters, which I couldn't work out whether or not it's British or Canadian, because it's about a family that moved back to Britain from wherever, and then
Mm.
they wanted monsters in the basement.
Oh.
And it's made by the Jim Henson. It turned out the Jim Henson Company had something to do with it, because
Okay.
one of the big red monster, I can't remember his name, appears in the behind the scenes on the Netflix adaptation of Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. If you watch behind the scenes, you can find the monster in the very corner of the room in the behind the scenes. You have to be very nerdy about it, but you just see it because it's like ginormous. It's smaller than Big Bird, but
I'm impressed that you noticed that, you clocked that. That's a very sort of like deep cut.
because I think there's not many people that remember that. And then Raven was quite good.
Oh, I
Raven's
love Raven.
The new Raven wasn't as great. I'm not saying that she wasn't a good Raven actress. It's just sort of why do we need to reboot it? Because it was all about him handing it over, and he went off to film a children's program that was amazing called Molly and Mac, which is it's based in Scotland. I shouldn't have been watching it at my age. It only ended like not last year, the year before. But Mark Nielsen's son was in it. So
Who's?
comedian Mark Nielsen,
Oh yeah.
yeah, his son was in it.
Um,
In the final series, it's all about as a like an after school type club. So it's like there's stalls you could go and buy stuff, and then you have the children in the area. And it's all about them getting up to antics in this like a stall type shop thing. It's mundane, but it's like not even funny. It was just it's on. You'll get the theme tune stuck in your head, and you won't turn it off.
just a pleasant sort of
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if someone walks in and sees you watching it, yeah, there's no going back. It was on CBeebies, so there's no going back. Yeah, I know.
Christ, CBeebies, not even CBBC.
Oh, it's like parents being obsessed with Bluey. It's like that.
Oh yeah, I don't have kids, but like I follow a lot of people who have kids and they're obsessed with it. I mean, maybe I should watch it and see what all the hype is about.
Oh, Josh Widdicombe and Adam Hills want to make a podcast about Bluey.
Really? Oh my God, like a Succession podcast, like a watch through. Oh my God.
A deep dive into why it's like.
Yeah.
And so we move on to question number 8.
Last one.
And so this is the age-old question. How old were you when you realised you had the funny chops?
Ooh, how old was I? Probably about 15, 16. So I went to an all-girls school, and when you don't have boys around to distract you, you can get very sort of nerdy and silly. And my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day, she's going to be my bridesmaid at my wedding, Liv. And I used to come up with comedy songs. We used to like write song parodies of things like Total Eclipse of the Heart. To help us revise, we were so nerdy, but like things like Total Eclipse of the Womb, for example. And we also, on our very last sort of like day of school, we came up with this like sort of parody newsletter where we wrote all these sort of like fake articles about stuff that was going on in our school. And like, so I think really it was kind of that. It was having a best friend who was also incredibly funny, and just sort of convinced me that like I was funny and we were mutually funny, and she was my first sort of like collaborator. And yeah, that was sort of like, oh, I enjoy making people laugh more than I enjoy absolutely anything else. So yeah, I was very lucky to have to have gone to an all-girls school where I wasn't kind of like distracted by boys, and I just got to be silly with my friends. And also like my mum has always said that I'm funny. I mean, as I said, she's always been very harsh. Like if something isn't funny, then she'll be like, that's not funny. But like she also sort of encouraged me to do silly voices and make jokes, and yeah. So two very important women in my life kind of told me that I was funny.
And so with that, the wheel is finished now.
No.
The wheel did not spin out on the lucky one, and as this series goes on, it's one comedian, 8 questions, and if it never mentions the end of a friend on the wheel, I mention it anyway. So it's never. Funnily enough, I've just realised it's never 8 questions. It's always more. But hey ho, who cares? No one's watching. Luckily it's different to what the British Comedy Guide do with Random 8, because that's what it was inspired by. It's their thing where they have a random comedian and they ask them a selection of 8 questions. I just one up them, make it more visual, and help save the Fringe. Not that it's dying or anything, it's just promote it, because you got to do more. So, the age-old question: what is your Edinburgh Fringe show all about?
My Edinburgh Fringe show is called Rhiannon Shaw Wedding Night, and it's about me getting married. It's an immersive wedding show where I've got a flyer for it here, I think. Where I play myself. I play the bride. That's why I'm wearing that white dress. Ta-da. But I also play the flower girl, who is a small French girl character who I've been playing for the last year. I also play the officiant, who's like arranging the wedding. And then I play my mum. I play a best man. I play someone who I've hired to sing at the wedding. So basically, yeah, it's an immersive wedding. Come along if you haven't been to enough weddings this summer and just wanna hang out. There might be canapes. I'm still sort of wrangling with kind of like the expense of getting salmon for everyone.
And will at some point this show be filmed at some point in the future? Will you possibly revisit it to film it?
Yeah, I think so. I think like depending on how the Fringe goes, I might be doing Aberystwyth Comedy Festival and I might film it there. But like, yeah, we'll see. At the moment, I'm just sort of hoping to get through the Fringe, and like, yeah, it'd be good to film it. It'd be good to film it actually.
It sounds like the perfect thing to put either on Next Up Comedy, or I know this sounds weird, either put it on VHS or on a DVD.
I'd love to be on VHS. Can you imagine? Wow.
And I like to add to that I own a VHS player and I own a couple of VHS. I own a few over there, a few down there, and a few down there. So I don't like on my lap. I'm not like sat with a lot of VHS, and now me like in the floor below.
But
Floor.
imagine you're too young to have grown up with VHS.
Oh, funnily enough, no, no. When I was younger, VHS DVDs weren't yet the thing. VHS was still in.
Yeah.
I was born in 2004, and VHSs stopped when I was in just before. I think just before I went to primary school. I think they were all.
Really? Is
Yeah.
it that late? I thought it was the early 2000s that people
No,
kind of stopped with VHSs.
no, we saw the VHS player. We only bought exclusively VHS. Oh, I have fond memories of accidentally putting the wrong VHS in the wrong box and getting upset later on. I wanted to watch the special edition of the Tweenies, but then accidentally put the Boo Bars into the Tweenies case. So
Mm.
went to go put the Tweenies in, but ended up watching Boo Bars instead.
Ah, I'm so sorry.
Boo
Trauma.
Bars are these fat things that go blah, 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 and the different colours. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Oh, I think I've seen a boo bar
Yeah.
out and about.
Yeah, it's also a nightmare for you. A lot of comments, if you don't watch the theme tune on YouTube, a lot of comments say, "You gave me nightmares. I never went to bed ever again. Ah, somebody help me! I'm gonna die." And so, where can people see the show? What's the venue? No, I mean, like, obviously we know what a venue is, but what's the name? Where can people go and find this? What
People?
time is it on, and how
Yeah.
much does the tickets cost?
Right. So it's on at Bedlam Theatre, which is this beautiful church venue, just kind of like I think it's called Bristow Place, but it's just around the corner from the Museum of Scotland, very sort of central in Edinburgh. It's on from the 15th to the 20th, and then the 22nd to the 27th. So not on the 21st. So don't come up to Edinburgh just for that date. And it's on at 2 o'clock. So go get your lunch and then come along to a wedding. It's just 2 o'clock is like a perfect wedding start time, I think. But yeah, come see it then.
And hopefully, will there be any crying babies? Because I know for a fact that in a wedding you have to have a crying baby at some point.
Oh God, you know what? We when my partner and I were arranging our wedding, we said we're not going to have any babies. We're not going to have any babies. And then his sister got pregnant, and we're going to have a tiny baby at our wedding. And I'm sorry, I'm actually so excited. But yeah, I mean, bring your crying baby if you want. I think it will probably not enjoy the show because it's not really suitable for babies. But I'm not going to throw you out if you bring your baby. That's the Rhiannon Shaw promise.
Because I've only ever been to one wedding in person, but a lot of weddings on TV, there's always a crying baby. And when you go to one in person, there is always a crying baby. And that might not just be a baby, that's just probably someone else crying like a baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure my mum will be blubbering. Oh, I forgot to say how much tickets are. They're only £5, I think. £5? I think £5 or
Where
six.
can where can people buy them? Like where to
Oh, the only place you'd ever want to buy them. The Ed Fringe website is where you can get tickets.
uh are they on if anyone's looking, are they on the app? Can they buy them from the app as well?
Yeah, you can get them on the app. Yeah.
Well,
And in person at the box office if you're not tech savvy. But why are you watching this if you're not tech savvy?
well, I highly recommend you go and get the tickets. That's a Tom seal of approval. Uh,
Oh,
it's also a seal of approval of the whole of TGM Productions. And might I add, that's not a group of other people. That's still just me, because
yeah.
TGM Productions stands for Thomas Grant Mason, which is my name. And then the word production because then it looks legit as a production company. One day, I'll put it on the tax register. One day, just at the moment, I'll go under the radar for now. I'm not earning any money from it, so we're all right.
Don't worry, I won't tell anyone.
Anything dodgy. I'm just creating dodgy. Well, not dodgy. I'm just creating weird sitcoms and a documentary that's longer than my arm.
How wow, what's the documentary about?
It's about it's about John Pertwee, who was the third Doctor in Doctor Who.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Because you could probably tell from the background here.
I see a picture of David Tennant.
I'm a yeah. That's a signed autograph that you can buy on Amazon. It's one of those where you don't know if it's real or not.
Oh, let's think it's real. Why not?
I pretend it's real. And then that there's a Minecraft sword full of signatures of
I
people.
thought it must be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a signatures of a lot of, I don't know what would you call it, Minecraft YouTubers that I didn't really know who half them were, because
Um,
I didn't really watch much YouTube when I was younger, because YouTube came in 2 years after I was born. So when I was born, YouTube came in 2006, and so I didn't start using YouTube till about 2012.
yeah, I remember watching my very first YouTube video. It was a David Hasselhoff music video. That was my very first YouTube video I ever watched.
That's one way to enter the world of YouTube, with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, Jump in My Car. Great song.
And where is he now? Well, he had a failed Dave sitcom off the record.
Hey.
Fergus Craig, who was in a sketch show called Sorry I Got No Head with Nick Mohammed, he was in that off the record. There's no clips of it online. There's only his word for it, and it's on the Wikipedia for Dave, but no one ever wants to speak about it ever again. So it's a David Hassel sitcom where he's in Britain, roaming about on a golf cart.
Fair enough. You know what? It was I'm gonna have to look at when it was commissioned. Might have been some dark days.
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, dark days, you know, Trump, you know, like it was we needed something, didn't we?
And so, before we wrap up this
Mhm.
glorious, magnificent interview, and before my roof caves in because it's raining really heavily, uh,
Oh,
I've got a ceiling light, so it's bashing through, so I feel like it might cave in and hurt me on the head.
don't drown.
Yeah. And so, who is your favorite Simpsons character of all time?
Oh, well, I said Hans Moleman. He's up there. I really like I like Kirk Van Houten, Milhouse's dad as well. I like my losers. I just think they're perfect.
And are you going to go and watch the UK version of SpongeBob the musical?
Oh, I might, you know. I'll check out who's in the cast. Um, but yeah, I'll round up some SpongeBob fans and see if we can't go and see the musical.
Why? Because it'd be I've seen they did a. I don't know why I was watching it, but they did a performance of Boy Peter, the other week, uh, and so it was quite good. The songs are what you expect, and they have Gary the snail thing. They have him on wheels. They've built a version of Gary, and it's just someone in the corner with a massive long piece of string, and he's pulls him across. He's pulling him across, and he just
I
goes,
love that. Stagecraft.
yeah. Yeah, that's the art of musicals.
Yeah.
And so, this is the opportunity to tell people where they can find you. Do not include your home address, but where can people find you to track you down and see more of the amazingness?
Check me out on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Rhiannon E. Shaw on both. I'm also I have a website called rhiannonshaw.com, but like there's not that much on it. You can see my portfolio for my job. Or I'm on TikTok as Rizwiz, RHIZZWHIZZ. But yeah, those are all the places you can find me. And at the Edinburgh Fringe this August.
Yes. And to remind people that have got, well, I'm not going to say amnesia, but people that have got very forgetful memories, what place and what time is your show on?
It's on at Bedlam Theatre, 2 o'clock, 15th to the 20th, 22nd to the 27th of August.
There we go. So that might be the end of One Comedian 8 questions for the year. Might, because last year I did 3, this year I did 3. So hopefully more people, namely no names, because I don't want to spoil it just in case if they're watching, they might get turned off by me, might be moaning at them. So I won't say names. But if any other comedians are out there trying to I'm going to the Fringe and knocking about before the Fringe, do get in touch, because One Comedian 8 questions is my way of promoting the Fringe.
Yeah, and it was great fun. Do it.
And for the world of Tom Mason on YouTube across all 17 YouTube channels and 12 podcasts, you can see a whole host of things. This channel, Tom's Comedy Club, the banner is being updated. I'm just trying to find better stock images of improv comedy, of all the different types of comedy to get a better, instead of having people doing that and not understanding the premise of what the stock image is, because you don't really know what these things are, because you Google it and it's like the worst stock image ever. It's some it's like, he looks like he's been shot, but he probably hasn't. Who knows? But there should be more on this channel. There'll be more sitcoms. Woohoo! There'll be more. There'll be that Going Down the Rabbit Hole with Tom, which is now a sketch show, will be out soon. Woohoo! And hopefully, if all goes to plan and we bring it again, we'll have another edition of Tom's Stand-Up Shorts, which is where I do stand-up comedy, stood right there, and I can then say to someone, yes, I have done stand-up. Here's the stuff. Because I did a stand-up. I say it's a show, but it's actually an 8-minute thing, and I gave it a title. I gave it a funky title. And then I did a load of shorts. And so hopefully I'll do it. And so thank you guys for watching. And remember, no, I've forgotten.